Hi everyone, so welcome back to the channel again. This video is building off my previous one that I've just uploaded as well, discussing about how to write 9-mark essay questions for AQA, AS and A-level geography. This is a written example that I have made to help people understand what I meant by providing that structure in terms of introduction, main body 2, conclusion, and including those 6 points that I discussed about using concepts and processes, knowledge and understanding, spatial and temporal scale, and how does that all fit in to create the perfect 9-mark essay for any of the topics you're doing. So if we look here at the question that I've decided to use for us, because I thought was actually quite useful in explaining stuff like the synopticity of things, is assess the extent to which the benefits of gentrification outweigh the costs. Now, if you've not done this yet, or if you've not studied this topic because you're doing population or resources, that's fine, don't worry. It's more to just get an idea, but for those of you who have or are going up to it, gentrification is basically, in layman's terms, people coming in to areas that have been run down, doing them all up, forcing the original people out because the house prices have risen, so they cannot afford the rents or afford to purchase the housing because it's not in their income bracket. So that often leads to polarization of communities in a way. So that's just giving a quick introduction. To show you what I've done, here is the essay itself, but I thought what I'll do is as we go through, I'm going to highlight each of the different categories for what counts as knowledge and understanding, concepts of process, spatial and temporal scale, analysis, synoptic, or conclusions. Then you know what to put in and what counts for it, because I think a lot of the time people actually get confused. So here we go. So we're going to start with it. So we'll go off with yellow because that might be where it is. So gentrification is when the status of inner urban areas close to the central business district have entered socio-economic decline to then being regenerated by the slow influx of more affluent communities buying and renovating properties. So I would actually class that as half knowledge and understanding, but also concepts and processes. So you are doing knowledge and understanding by defining what it is, so the status in urban areas, slow influx of more affluent communities buying and renovating properties, but you're also using concepts and processes when we discuss things like gentrification, central business district, socioeconomic decline, regeneration, and then we are all then, if we carry on to that, we can then put this can take place over a large temporal scale. So then we'll highlight that in blue because we're giving a time period, because it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over many, many years, really. So you have to be considerate of whether the scale is short or long term. An example of this is Portland Road, Notting Hill in the north of Kensington. So that is definitely knowledge and understanding because that's place-specific case study information. Next one, gentrification brings strong benefits to urban areas due to the fact it brings an influx of services to an area of decline. So I'd say with that one, we're going to class that as our analysis. Is that our pink? Perfect, yeah. So gentrification due to the fact it brings in an influx of area services to an area of decline. Strong benefits, so we'll class that as evaluation because we're saying it's positive. And then we'll go back, carrying on. E.g., within Portland Road, there has been an increase in the extent of al fresco dining and restaurants reflecting social trends of the more affluent communities. So here we'll have key knowledge and understanding, so that would be a yellow, but then also key terminology such as al fresco dining, because that's quite a common term you should know, just gentrification, how shops are being developed to have more for the wealthier communities in the style that they would find more attractive. This allows for the generation of jobs within the tertiary sector. So once again, key term, tertiary, e.g. waiters, waitresses, providing high quality experiences for the community. So once again, we'll go with that being pink because we're saying what it provides. However, this could argue to outweigh the cost of this impact where it's led to the decline and the replacement of vital services. Yep. And places that represented strong feelings in the community. So if we're talking things about community, to me, that leans towards more the idea of changing places, and that's more of a synoptic link. So there we go, we've got some synopticity in it when considering things about changing places. such as Julie's Wine Bar, replaced by a family-owned Virginia oil shop that was forced to close due to the high rent prices. Yeah. So we are then going again using place-specific information, saying how Julie's Bar replaced a family-owned shop. So, you know, people who had ties to the area, family, local communities, due to the high rent prices. So we'll then move that into analysis again, because we're now beginning to analyse and say what it's done. So it's displaced families and livelihoods, and then decreasing the sense of community in the area. So we'll class that as analysis, but we're also thinking about how that could be also, I'd count that myself if I was marking this as changing places in a synoptic link in terms of community, sense of attachment. Then definitely here changing places once again. This alters the genius loci of Notting Hill, removing families that have lived in the area since the development of the 1950s social housing. So again, key place, but then synoptic links in terms of we're thinking about the genius loci, so the spirit of a place, that what are the people that make and embody this region that we live in. Further analysis by saying this was amplified for Notting Hill when the 1956 Rent Act caused an increase in rent prices and forced many low-income families to move out, e.g. the gypsy community. So here we've got some analysis, but again, place study, place information. So the gypsy communities, the 1956 Rent Act, but then again, amplifying it, saying it's extended. So this was amplified. So then again, we're getting some more of the analysis in. I'm just going to change genius loci as well in there to class that as key terminology as well, even though it's changing places. So to develop this, to contrast, this economic impact has caused an increase in the average property values for areas that have been gentrified. So again, we're analysing, allowing for higher returns on the sale of properties. We're then going to go back to some case study information, e.g. an average house in Notting Hill has risen from 11 grand to over 2 million. That's within 40 years, showing an exponential change over this temporal scale. So there we go, we've got our blue back again. So now we're having some more temporal scale in there. We're thinking of the change in the long term, 40 years. The purchasing of these houses allows for the preservation and maintenance of period properties. There we go, some analysis. What has it done? That was one of our impacts. E.g. the exterior of Georgian housing on Portland Road is kept while renovating, improving the interior of the houses. So that's more case studied information. And then the practice of facadism to maintain culture. So facadism is basically you keep the exterior of the household, but on the inside you renovate it, do it up. So we'll class that as a key term, facadism in urban geography. This allows to maintain the cultural heritage and history of the local area of Notting Hill. Further analysis, while also reducing housing vacancy rates. Perfect. This will have a positive impact as it will generate council tax to serve the local community and improve the area, attracting further investment. Brilliant. However, so there we go. Once again, we're analysing more, and then this is negated by the fact gentrification has caused the polarisation of communities. So that's another key term when we have to consider the polarisation. So we're kind of drawing conclusions as we go on about saying what's happening. So yes, the economics are good. So it's generating tourism industries, facadism, we're making, but then we're also evaluating as we go along, saying, yes, these endpoints are good, but they've also had some negative impacts to go with this. So e.g. in Portland Road, there is thought to be a social barrier between the rich south of the road and the poor, where the house prices are only approximately 340,000 in the north, creating tension between different economic classes. Good. Then, well, not good, but it's good for our knowledge. This impact, gentrification, was amplified during 1975 when a traffic barrier was built and divided the ends of the road of its residents. So we're going to class that as analysis, because what it's done, what did this lead to? And then this demonstrates the economic impacts of gentrification that have the potential to create a spatial divide between communities. So that's our analysis. Furthermore, we're going to class that as our conclusion for that paragraph. And then we'll add a bit of, we're going to change that as that's our place-specific information about a traffic barrier. So if we look here, we've already got quite a range of different colours going on here, because we've got some good periods about 1950 social housing. So I'm going to change that actually, because that counts as temporal. So we've got a good range of scale. Here we've got a lot of pink to show that we've analysed, given conclusions and thoughts throughout. We've added place-specific information. Here we've had synoptic links, mainly more within the first one, but we have also been able to bring it in when we think about the polarisation of communities. I can't believe I forgot that. I'm a bit of a silly banana, aren't I? Here we are, polarisation, so we'll put that here. So there's another synoptic link. Amplify this creates a social divide, a spatial divide as well between, so we're talking about communities. So once again, that is thinking about the synopticity of how community feelings changing places, and then a spatial divide. So even within the conclusion that we've made here, notice how I've also managed to include scale and time, synoptic links. Just because it's one part doesn't mean you cannot include others. And overall, we just get to the conclusion. So the process of gentrification is heavily subjective. So that's the judgment we've made. So I'm going to highlight all of this and then go through it. So that's our conclusion. But then what are the bits within it? It's heavily subjective based on your socioeconomic status. So we're going to add that as a key term, because socioeconomic. While gentrification brings strong benefits to the area as it improves a region that was facing socioeconomic deprivation. Yeah. To a greater extent, so that's our evaluation, it's outweighed by the fact that it displaces communities that had a strong topophilia with the area. So then again, synoptic link, because we're thinking about topophilia, the love of a place, how are we feeling connected to it? And that leads to a loss of the original communities. And that is all you need to do. So put any comments in the description, but we'll just have a quick look. So here we've got all yellow. So we've got our knowledge and understanding, key case study knowledge, any concepts and processes that we've included. So things like socioeconomic status, deprivation, polarization, facadism, genius loci, the tertiary sector, gentrification, CBD, just weaving them into your essay as you go. We've clearly added some spatial and temporal scale, so a spatial divide between the north and south sides of the road, changes over a 40-year period, for example, and then also considering things that have happened since the 1950s in terms of the development of social housing after the war, in terms of growth of urban policies, things like that, including some synoptic links, and as we have analysed it, so thinking about positive impacts, negative impacts, how have the social benefits outweighed the negative economic or vice versa. And then we relate it to other areas of geography, mainly in this essay, for example, discussing things in changing places, the love of an area, the community feeling, the insiders versus outsiders perspective, and then overall concluding these thoughts without just discussing, well, what does this mean? How has that made a judgment at the end? And we have not, the main thing, like I said, I'm just going to move it again into bold. We have not sat on the fence. We have said to a greater extent that the economic benefits are outweighed by the fact that there are social losses in terms of communities being displaced and how we are losing the original identity and value in Notting Hill. So when you consider these two things, that is all you really need to do. It's a bit similar to your 20-mark essay, but it's a lot shorter because all you have to do is 2 shorter paragraphs, 1 introduction and 1 conclusion. That, when you have written and you've revised, obviously this looks a bit scary now, but when you've actually revised everything, this actually does roll off your head quite quickly in the time frame that you're given. Just email me at or message on the Instagram handle, Jamie the Geographer, if you would like an example of this essay, and I can send it to you, and then you will be ready to go. So I hope that's everything you needed, and I think that should be all. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.